Okay, and we're live. Welcome everyone back to my comfy couch. Say hi when you guys get on the chat. We've got some interesting guests on the line with us today. We've got a couple with Couples Pursuit. They're going to let us know about their company and what they do. I have Vincent and Valerie on the line. Vincent and Valerie, say hi
How you
Hey,
doing? Hey,
everybody.
everybody.
and let us know, let the audience know what it is that you guys do.
Well, my name is Vincent,
And I'm Valerie.
and we have a marriage and relationship coaching business called Couples Pursuit. And our job is to convey and communicate and, just develop tools and strategies to help couples maintain and pursue a successful marriage.
Yes.
And that's basically everything that we do. We develop courses, materials, we all our posts, everything is all about helping couples to pursue and maintain a
hmm
successful marriage. And we apply biblical principles. That's what saved us,
It's
and
the
that's what we know.
foundation.
And
hmm
anybody that comes into our world, hopefully we can just help them along
Yeah.
as we have been helped throughout mentors up the years.
Yeah. We love to mentor other couples as well. As my husband mentioned, those that are pursuing, helping others pursue or maintain marriage. So, from courtship to covenant, which is the marriage, the ceremony, all the way through maintaining the marriage. We like to touch at each point, especially beforehand, because an ounce of prevention, as they say, is worth a pound of cure. So if you can get ahead of it, then
Hmm.
you don't have all the headache once you're in it.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true. You're from single, separated, married, or
married.
divorced.
hmm
That we try to cover all the gamuts because, you know, so many people are looking to want to be married
hmm
and, be in a successful relationship. They want to be happy. They want to be in a
Yeah,
healthy relationship.
or have lost their faith in marriage
Yeah.
because
Oh,
of
absolutely.
how they've seen it played out.
Absolutely.
hmm
Oh, I love to have both of you on the show. First of all, I want to thank you so much for the work you do. We absolutely need it at
Yeah.
this time, especially. That's why I started the show because I saw that there was such a big disconnect between single men and women. So I love that you guys are trying to keep people together and help them find love. So God bless you
Yes.
guys. Keep at it. Don't give up.
Will
Thank
do.
you.
Yes. So, really quick, where can they find you if they are interested in finding more information about you? Let them know maybe your social media, your website. Where can they find you?
Well, all things couples pursuit, couples with the S pursuit, and our website couplespursuit.com.
hmm
You can, if you don't know where to reach us at, you can start there.
Right.
And we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We don't really do a lot of Twitter and TikTok. I'm not
hmm
saying we will never get on there, but right now we just
We don't
focus
have a
on
large
our
presence there.
website and Facebook. That's where we get down. That's where our group, our clique. That's where our tribe is at. Is
hmm
Facebook.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten on the TikTok and all that yet either.
Yeah.
Hi, Erin. Welcome to the chat. Thank you so much. And Erin said hi, V&V.
Hey.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. So, now what I found interesting about you guys was that you're married over 20 years. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Exactly.
23 years
22.
next month.
23.
Okay.
See
Thank
that?
you.
Next month, 23 years.
That
Make
is
me look bad on national
amazing.
YouTube.
So that is
Yeah,
amazing. So
two
tell me, I'm
decades and
sure that you
counting.
guys have been through a lot. You've seen a lot as you are mentoring these couples and dealing with people. So I want to know from you guys, 20 years. Tell me, if you had to say, what are the key ingredients that keeps you guys together, or what you think keeps couples together? Like, what would that be?
Wow. You want to start or should I?
I, you know, now
hmm
in our wise years,
hmm
we've through trial and error,
Yes.
we have figured out there are five basic biblical principles that you can go off of, and we teach about this. We're gonna have a course coming up in the and materials in the book. It's called the five mandates, but
Marriage
basically
mandates.
marriage mandates, and it's
hmm
basically is the covenant that you make between each other. I don't think we take that serious enough.
hmm
Hmm.
I think we say we would like to be married, but that covenant that you make with each other, take it serious. It's a covenant. It's not just an agreement. We're not just doing a contract.
hmm
I'm not saying contracts are bad, but I'm just saying it's you are pledging your life, and we didn't take that seriously enough. And
Yeah.
then aside from that, the other mandate would be the commitment. And once you realize that you're pledging your life, you're making the commitment to honor that covenant. You're pledging yourself. Like, I would die before I be the downfall
Mhm.
of
Ooh,
the relationship. That's how serious it has to be,
wow.
Yeah.
in your life. And then from that, what do we do to promote that? Well, we have to make sure we keep communication open. There's so many couples that we talk to that one of the first things we talk, you would think it would be infidelity, you would think it would be
Right.
kids, you would think it would be
Finances.
in-laws,
Mhm.
finances, but the number one thing is communication. Like,
Mhm.
Wow.
there's lack of it, or we don't do it effectively.
Yes.
Ooh,
So that's our third mandate, is communication. Then our fourth one is connection.
Yes.
That's you're developing a connection. And the Bible tells us that a man will leave his father and mother and cleave or pursue. That's where we get the couple's pursuit from. Pursue, his wife.
Mhm.
And so you have to maintain that connection with one another. And the fifth one is the calibration, or we can say recalibration.
Recalibration. Yeah.
oh, tell
We
me.
have to always, you're not just going to marry the same person. My wife is not the same person that she was 22, 23 years ago.
No.
I have to be okay with that. I have to embrace that. A lot of people
Yeah.
be like, well, they ain't who I married. No, she ain't the same person I married. You should be glad.
And you should be different too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I would recommend. And
Yeah.
Ooh,
we kind of teach and we stand on that. And if couples really get that part right there down pat,
Mhm.
I believe it'll change your whole atmosphere.
Yeah. And I
ooh,
think also that the first word that came to mind when you asked that question was surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm,
that is how we made it. We surrendered to the covenant,
Mm-hmm.
to commitment,
Mm-hmm.
to connection, to communication, and to recalibration. Because without it, first of all, some people will say, well, what do you mean covenant? Well, covenant for us, well, what it means is it is the not just the agreement to marry one another and take vows to one another, but we honestly embrace um, that marriage is God's institution and that He created it, and we replicate that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is not just me making vows to Him, but making vows to God to be married to Him and to do it based on His principles. And when we do that, it's not about religion, because we're not religious people.
Mm-hmm.
We are in relationship with God,
Yeah.
pursuing Him
Mhm.
as much as we, if not more than we pursue one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we stay together, surrendering to Him and to what He says about marriage.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And we
powerful.
didn't always get it right.
No.
For a lot of times, we try to be said what God has put together, let no man put us under. We have tried to be that man so many times of putting
Yeah.
us our own relationship, tearing it
Unknowingly.
apart.
Mhm.
And I believe a lot of it tends to we didn't pay attention to these 5 mandates, that
Mhm.
we didn't take it seriously. So
Right.
I
ooh,
urge people to really just take inventory of where you are right now and recognize where you might need some encouragement, some help. That's why Nikki does what she does. That's why
Mhm.
we do what we do. Because if you are able to, have a healthy and happy relationship, I believe from that we can have healthy, happy homes and
Right.
healthy
right,
and happy
Children.
children and
right,
neighborhoods
Communities.
and communities and
right.
nations and all those
Yeah.
change the whole world, as I
Yeah.
would like to say, because it always starts with, if you can just take yourself, say, look, what am I lacking and what do I need help at, and then
Mm.
get that help. And people like us,
Yes. And that's the main reason why we do what we do, because it's not so much that we didn't want to. I had no intention of separating from him when we got married.
hmm
But life happened to us,
Mhm.
and my inability to understand the need for communication, covenant, commitment, connection, all of that, it kept me in a cycle, and him in a cycle where we would just kind of butt heads.
mm.
And it's not so much that we didn't want it, but we didn't know how.
Right,
And a lot of people just don't know how to do it.
right.
Yeah.
Because that was going to be my leading question is, okay, you mentioned the 5 for us, and some of those we've heard before, especially like communication. But like you said, sometimes people don't know how.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
what do you think people should do? Okay, I noticed that I am always bickering with my partner. There is some kind of communication issue there. We're just not getting
Mhm.
along. What would you advise them to do to help with their communication? Say hi when you guys get in the chat, okay? Thank you for being here. Put your questions in the chat too if you have any.
I think it's important to take self inventory. A lot of times we'll tell people, as Vincent alluded to earlier, well, this is the way I was when you met me, or this is how I was when you married me. And we think that that the way that we grew up, or the way that we have become as a result of the way that we grew up, the way that we learn how to protect ourselves and cover ourselves and support ourselves is the way to do it. But there are more than one way to do something right. There's more than one way to do something right. And sometimes we have to understand that our spouse, we have to know that they didn't grow up the way that we did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They didn't have the same experiences that we did. And so it's selfish for anyone to say, well, this is how I am. You should just deal with it. Well, that can go both ways. So take self inventory,
Mhm.
learn, be open to understanding and receiving knowledge.
Yes.
And also um, just really digging deep. Our past shapes our present.
Yes,
And if
absolutely.
we don't change it, it's going to dictate our future
That's
as
good.
well. So we have to look at where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go, and see if our behavior lines up with that.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
good. That's good.
absolutely.
And just like she said, a lot of times we don't embrace the fact that our spouse, the person that we marry, person that we're interested in, did not grow up like us. So, initially, we are married. We are trying to make our spouse another version of ourselves.
Mm.
Yeah.
We're
It's not the point.
everything that every situation that happens is like, well, I wouldn't handle it like that. I don't
Mhm.
understand why
Right.
you're crying. I don't see why you upset. I
Mhm.
wouldn't have got upset by it. And so we never look at it through like the
Their
other
eyes.
person's eyes.
Mhm.
I
Correct.
think once you get that empathy, I'm not talking about empath and none of that stuff. I'm talking about really
No.
just understanding. Look, I want to listen to understand, not listen to rebuke or to rebuttal or
Correct.
argue back. I want to listen to try to understand, and then I want to process it.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I want to okay. One time we was having a situation, and we was going back and forth,
Mhm.
and we was like, I was trying to tell her how I was feeling, and she
Mhm.
was trying to tell me how she was feeling. And
Mhm.
and it's we're really good. We don't argue, fuss, and fight, none of that stuff, whatever.
Anymore.
But the
Yeah.
conversation was like, okay, well, I don't think you are getting what I'm saying. And then, man, it's like, wow. Once I thought that, I'm saying to myself, well, I'm not getting what she's saying.
Mhm.
What is she saying? So I sat back and I listened. I was like, okay, well, let me try to. I could understand why you thought that way because of the way I said what I said. I got it now. I see what you're saying.
Yes, when you see from her
We don't do
perspective.
that enough. We
Exactly.
don't actually sit back and say, what how do they feel? And then
Right.
feel it and then go through processing the information
From
through
that point of
that point of
view.
view.
Right.
Yeah.
Woo! I love it. Say hi when you guys get on the chat. Thank you so much for joining. Put any questions. We have Vincent and Valerie on with Couples Pursuit, trying to let us know how to stay married. I love what
Yes.
you both said about communication because that is so true. Too many times we are looking at the situation from our lens and
Mhm.
thinking
Yes.
the person's doing this because the reason why we would. So it's always good, like you said, to sit back and let me hear. And let me
Right.
hear what this person is saying and believe them. So
Mhm.
many
Right.
of us think like, oh no, that's not true. I know you did it because of this and that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
no, you
It's
have
our
to trust.
filters. Mhm.
What'd you say,
That's true.
Valerie?
I said we process everything, and it's easy to do, but you process through your own filter. But communication is the definition of communication is exchanging information for the purpose of understanding,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
To gain the knowledge, but also for understanding. But often we don't communicate for understanding. We communicate to be heard. I'm
Yes.
communicating because of what I want. And then we have to think about, okay, am I seeking in this relationship, am I seeking to just be loved or am I seeking to love?
Mm,
Because love is two things. It's a noun and a verb.
mm.
Are you seeking to just feel good or are you willing to give to the other person what they have need of as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Oh,
have to see, you know, am I being selfish in this thing? Is this just about what I want?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
exactly. I love it. Now we hear about this. Okay, there's communication, but what do you do? Because sometimes in the relationship, you notice that one partner might be taking all the advice. They're trying to see from the other person's perspective. They're doing all the work to try to get where they need to be. What does someone do when their partner is not at that level? How do they
Mhm.
still try to make this thing work when it seems like they're the only one that's growing and progressing in this area?
Mhm.
Well, that's there are a lot of couples like that.
Yes.
I'm not. I talk a lot now.
Right.
Because this is part of the business, I guess. Well,
Mhm.
this is part of what we do. But I'm not a talker. Once you get me going, I think you might
Yeah.
can't
If
shut
you
me up.
initiate it,
Yeah.
he'll talk. But
But
yeah.
I'm not a talker. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of times that's why you have people like marriage coaches that can give you some tips and strategies, because when, like my wife said, the goal of communication is really to get understanding. And I want to understand, okay, if you don't talk, how was your day? It was all right. And then we leave it at that. Okay, you might be quiet for a second. You was like, um so was that problem that you had at work, was that resolved? Did you ever figure out a way, around that? And they might say, well, yeah, it was taken care of. And you might just kind of probe a little bit more,
Mhm.
And so you have to understand this is the person you marry, so you know them better than anybody. And you don't want to keep quitting. A lot of times we keep quitting because we hit a wall, and we don't
Yes.
realize if you just take a couple steps left to the right, we can go around that wall. But we want to turn around and just be like, okay, well, he don't feel like talking, so I ain't gonna talk no more. So the key is to, okay, all right. It's not the fact they don't want to talk. They might not be interested in talking about what you want to talk about, but they like to talk. People like to talk.
Yeah.
We like to, we like to conversate. You get somebody at a car game or talking about a movie or a sports team or something. A guy gonna talk, and we talking about something we're passionate about. So
Right.
you have to, your goal, I think, in spouse, husband or wife, is to find a thing that they're, passionate about,
Mhm.
and hopefully it's the relationship. And if it's the relationship, and we know we are in this little funk stage right here, let's just keep asking. I don't want to say probing questions, but I don't want you to poke questions. It's just questions that
Right.
I really want to try to uncover, try to peel back the layers. And if you go a little further today, that's great. Then tomorrow, try to go a little further. Just keep
Mhm.
asking questions, because people really want to talk about stuff they're passionate about. You just have to find out, what they're passionate about and how can we get to that place. So that's what
So
I
Yeah.
would
you're
recommend.
so you're suggesting find a way to get through to them. If something isn't working, try another way. And perhaps if you probably need some tips, like you said, probably from a coach or someone that could kind of help you in your situation. Sometimes you might need that outside person to come in and help you guys. And there's no shame in that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
well, no, it's a book I read. Well, it's a book I read. Within the book, it was a chapter called "The Five Whys," and I thought it was so. I mean, I was like, "Wow, that is
Simple,
brilliant."
but
And it was
yeah.
the Five Whys was the same thing that I'm telling you. It's we were just going a little further, and they were just talking about, well, so how was work today? It was all right. Okay, so was it tired? Was it busy? It was kind of busy, but this happened and that happened.
Mhm.
Okay, well, so that probably seemed like it was kind of stressful. Was it stressful? Yeah, it was kind of stressful, and then I had this issue, and then mom called. Well, how's your mom doing? It kept on
You
building,
open the
and that
door.
was a demonstration in the book, and I was like, wow, that's brilliant. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. And so sometimes, you might can try things like that, because I don't think that we should, because you're gonna get to a place where you're gonna be like, well, I don't think he wants to talk to me. And so y'all might not talk for the rest of the day. I don't think we should be living in an area where not communicating with one another.
Right.
Is I'm not saying that people have bad days and they want some time to look at friends like at a sports show. I'm not saying jump in front of the TV while the Super Bowl is on. What I'm saying is that
Don't. Don't
what
do
I'm
that.
saying is that don't be okay with just living mediocre, having a mediocre
Yes.
marriage.
So I'm
Yeah.
guessing what
That's
you're
not.
trying to say is if you build that communication when things do come up, you guys will be able to work through those things because of this
Yeah.
kind of communication that you've built with them. We
I
do
think
have a
it's
question.
also. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I had a question. Someone had a question. You want to make a statement before?
I just want to just to add to that, I want to make sure that we need to find out how our partner communicates. How does your partner communicate? Maybe they're not a talker. What is their style of communication? Are
Yes.
they aggressive? Are they passive? Are they passive aggressive? Are they assertive? And then you deal with them in that way. You don't want to come at a passive aggressive person or a passive person aggressively, because it will shut them down,
Right.
especially in the dynamic of the male being passive and the woman being aggressive. He's not ever going to talk to you if you're always rah, 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 and she
Exactly.
won't open up to you if she doesn't feel safe, if she's going to feel ridiculed. So find out who you're with, find out who you are, find out what kind of partner am I, and then approach it from that position. Am I easy to talk to
Mm-hmm.
when they come to me? Do I trip out, flip out whenever something comes up? Do I clam up, shut up, get missing? How
Ooh.
do I respond? And if I talk to him or her, are they gonna ridicule me, make me feel bad about myself?
Ooh.
Then I
That's
don't want to talk.
great. I'm urging couples or anyone who's watching to maybe this whole show or this episode could be a way for you to open up that conversation. Say, hey, when I communicate, how do you feel? Is it to communicate with me? Do you feel that you can be open with me? I mean, bring up this conversation, because that's true. Sometimes people don't have that self-awareness. And
Right.
so I love that. I love that. I think that's a great discussion to have. Someone asked, so there's a problem. Wife's kids are brats. They call their mom the B word. Over time, the husband couldn't take it anymore. Husband went on a body slamming spree. How should the husband respond in this case? Ooh. He said also the same couple went through premarital counseling and they agreed that their kids lack discipline. Man, so what do you do when the kids, woo?
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
lot of
So,
layers.
so the husband went on a body slam spree.
Yes.
I think the husband responded.
Ooh,
He
my
responded
That was
in a
not the
way
way to
that was
respond.
that was not the way to respond.
Yeah.
I think we can give a lot of topical advice, but the reason why we started Couples Pursuit, because we've it's not a secret. It's a good marketing thing to say, but we found the principle that can help any situation, and that is to understand that you're made in the image of God. God made us. We are a husband and wife. We are the demonstration. If we used to have this pastor that when he was preaching, sometimes he would bring people on stage, and he would use them as a demonstration. And if you're in the demonstration, it's like you get the revelation first. You're like, oh wow, that's so good. I never really thought of it like that. Then the crowd gets, wow, yes, I can see it better now. That's what a marriage is. A marriage is God. We're made. God has allowed husbands to be the head of the household, just as Christ is head of the church. And the church, we submitted unto Christ, as the wife will submit to her husband. But get this, Jesus also, he did what the Father. He said, "I don't do anything unless I see what the Father does." A lot of men do not look to see what the Father is doing. We don't look up to see what the Father is doing. We're just trying to go freestyle here and just try. Okay, well, I'm the head. I should be able to do what I want to do. That's not what he's saying. Jesus was the head, but yet he prayed and he said, "I only do what I see my Father do."
Yes.
This whole issue right here, and I'm glad you brought that up. But if you really want to solve this problem, you don't want to be right. But if you really want to solve this problem, go to the Word, and every way that Jesus conveyed to his people, to his disciples, to everybody he talked to, every way that he prayed to God when he went away to go pray, when people were persecuting him, everything that he did, if you emulate that, if you be the demonstration here on earth, how Jesus was a demonstration, as he was man, he was the Messiah here on earth, I guarantee you will find the problems that you're having. You would say, hey, look, I'm not doing what Jesus did. which is I'm not looking to see what the Father is doing. If once you get the revelation of that, I believe everything will switch for you. I believe all these. I'm not saying it would be so easy, but what I am saying, it would be easier than this. It would be easier, and because we cannot get to a place where if the kids are directing your marriage, you're losing focus because your priority should be, as a man or a male or female, your priority should be first you and your relationship with God, and then your wife's relationship with God. I would love God more than I love my wife, and she's happy with that. Same thing with her. She loves God more than she loves me. But then she loves me.
Right.
Get
this is going to trip some people up. Then she loves the kids.
Oh, come on now.
You don't put your kids above your relationship with your husband. You don't put your kids above your relationship with your wife. They're not even equal. I know some people. Wait a minute, Vince. Just you go read the word just like I did. I got the revelation that he wants a relationship with you, and then from you and through you, that he will bless others. Every time God bless someone is because they had an intimate relationship with him, and then the overflow happened.
Ooh, I love it. Thank you so much, Vincent. Woo! Put all your questions in the chat. Adela said, so true. God first, everything after. Amen.
Can I add something practical to that, Nikki? Yes, of course, word first. That's where we live. It's our foundation. But also, I would like to say there were a couple of things I saw there. The kids were brats. This is obviously is it the father of the children, or this is a
he just says a problem.
He said the husband
was on this a body slamming spree, and how should he respond if they're calling the mom the B word? Those are symptoms of a bigger problem.
Right.
All of those things are symptoms of a bigger problem. Sometimes we as adults behave like children, but we take license to do so. I'm grown. I can do whatever I want to, and don't realize that our behavior in the presence of our children is an example of how they, what they should follow. Now, if the children are hearing that language, if they are angry, if they have been hurt, mistreated, abused, if they are manipulating, because children can manipulate also.
Right.
But we can't just look at the symptoms. We got to look at the root of the problem. We have to take the time to see where is this coming from. Yes, address that behavior, because none of my children would be able to speak to my husband or myself like that. It'll be a whole problem, and you can have yourself on the other side of the door. They've heard it before, and we mean that. We don't tolerate disrespect, but we also don't disrespect our children.
Right. There you go.
So we have to learn how to see them, see what the issues are, set boundaries, and hold them accountable to those boundaries. And I'll leave this last note, in a situation where it's hard for people to see, especially when there are blended families, and our family is a blended family. Now, it's hard to see, what do you mean I have to put this man before my children? My kids come first. Okay, but the law and the principle in marriage is husband is wife to God, woman to God, husband to God, man to God, then husband and wife to one another. Then we become what we're supposed to be, which is one. And then we collectively, that's why, because you need to collectively raise your children. We have different roles in doing that. And if children can divide, they will, so that they can get what they want. So there's a lot going on. It's not a simple question to answer, but I would say dig deeper into what's really going on.
Yes.
Oh, love it. Both of you provided great feedback. Love it. Thank you so much for that question, Aaron. Anybody in the chat, say hi and put your comments in here. So what do you guys see through the different couples you've dealt with? What do you see are the common concerns or issues that you see nowadays that couples are having with each other? If you had to give a good 2 or 3, what do you see that's common?
Well, we talked about earlier about communication, and we really think that it's not that communication is the problem. It's a lack of communication or the type of communication. I think expectation.
Ooh, that's a big one.
What did you think marriage was? What did that look like for you? What do you think it should look like? Does your spouse agree with that? Have you ever discussed that?
Mm-hmm.
What are the roles? Who were your examples? What kind of mother did you have? What kind of father did you have? What are you looking for out of this? So yes, communication, but also expectation. I'll leave room for you to give one if you like.
Well, that and also to piggyback that the fact we assume so much.
Oh my. Yeah.
Man, we assume like they should know. I don't understand why they didn't know. They did this, so they should have known, and they didn't know. So I'm now upset at the fact they didn't know. You know that Jesus, and I'm sorry, I don't hate going back, but I want to express this point right here. Okay, so if Jesus was there when we was formed in our mother's belly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the fact that he still asks you to ask, seek, and knock, he still wants you to come talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we not want to talk to our spouse? I mean, he knows, but he still wants you to verbally say and confess and to out your mouth to actually think about what's in the thought that's in your mind, and then to process it and then to bring it out. But we get in a marriage, we get this kind of like
this mind reader.
Yeah, mind reader. Like, I don't understand why, he don't know what I want for dinner. He should know.
Why he buy me a toaster for Christmas? Well, you said the other day that the toaster was broken.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
Yes, buy me the toaster and something romantic, and say it, because sometimes men are concrete and very direct and straightforward, and sometimes we as women, we have a huge issue. Some of us, everyone's not the same, but with having a conversation in our head, and when we talk to our spouse, we talk to them as though they were present for that conversation.
But it's so true, Valerie. That's what I was going to say. I know that guys are very, like you said, just straightforward. They will tell you and it will be very clear. But women expect you to know. And it's like, guys do not know. Like, you need to express, even if you think it's like, duh, he should know.
Right.
Just be straightforward and express.
And we like that. Okay, you can say, well, man, you think I'm nagging. I'm not, I would like to know why you're upset about something. Like, to actually know, instead of assume like, well, she must be upset. So
that's her problem.
Yeah, that's her problem. But the fact that you verbally express the fact that not only that you're upset, you're emotional right now, but you desire for me to understand more about you. I think we lose that. We lose that. We don't really embrace the fact that we have to keep talking through this. Okay, here goes the situation. Something's come up. Okay, let's not get quiet now.
Right.
That we retreat to our first goal, especially me, and our first goal is just, we're not gonna say nothing.
Yeah.
I must have said something in the first place to mess this up. So I'm not gonna say nothing anymore. But as a man, we have to fight through that. We have to understand and it's a great book by Gary Chapman called The 5 Love Languages.
Yes.
Yeah. And in it he talks about to know yours, because you have words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch. What's the other 3? It's 2 more. It's 2 more, but because I know those 3, because I know mine is physical touch. I like to
gifts.
Yeah, I don't talk a lot. I don't talk a lot like all the time, but I like my wife. I think you can call it corny if you want to, but I do. I take my sand to the beach. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I like to be around my wife, and my wife, hers. She likes actually for me to say the words that I'm feeling.
Right.
She likes to be, baby, dinner was good. Baby, I really do love you. Baby, I appreciate you. Baby, I'm sorry. I think she likes those things, and that's her love language. And I know that she wants me to tell her, to talk to her. And so once I know that, it kind of gives me a say, okay, you know what? I'm not doing this enough. What's going on? Did I know what she likes? and I'm not doing it. Why am I not doing it? I'm
Yeah.
selfish.
And
That's
that's
what
the
So
thing
all
about
that.
yeah.
What you ought to know. Well, find out what it is, and then what the love language is, and then when you have the conversation about it, have the conversation. What do you like?
Mhm.
Because if I'm a woman, what I found out in a women's meeting at one point, some person was up speaking. It's like they were talking about massages and flowers and other things, and some of the women were like, "Well, I don't like that though." So it's not a blanket thing. Find out who
exactly.
your person is and what they like. We have this thing that we do in the dating stage, which is we don't really support dating. We support courtship,
Mhm.
which is dating with a purpose, like
Yeah,
just to be dating, just to be dating. No, in that time, you find out who the person is.
you're dating for information.
Right. If
You're
you're compatible.
we get analysts. We are breaking it down.
Yeah. We don't need apps. We don't need dating apps. We need people.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't got a problem with dating apps,
I
but
mean,
you want to make sure
yeah.
that if the purpose is one day I do want to have a relationship, I want to have a serious relationship, I want to get married, but know that if that person is not on board, then we okay.
Let's just go ahead and cut this
go ahead and cut this
cord
now.
real
I'm
quick.
dating for information. Are
That's
you the
right.
person?
Do you want children? Do you want to move? Do you want to, do missions for the rest of your life? I love you, I love the Lord, but I don't want to do that. You need to know that up front. If your spouse, I had a pastor say one time in a service, he said, you better find out if your spouse is a bookworm before you marry them, because if they're a bookworm and you are not, and you like to be intimate, you like to go places and do things, and all they want to do is stay in the house, that's going to cause conflict. Know who they are, know who you are before you get married.
Ooh, I love it. Very all good information. I love it. So we got some tips for those who are single, thinking about getting married. Those who are married, we've got tips all over the place for helping in terms of how to stay married and get with the right person. So let's talk about, on your website, you guys mentioned that there was a time, and you kind of mentioned it earlier too, that you guys were kind of on the brink, not really sure if it was going to work out. So you want to share with the audience kind of what your experience was at that time?
Oh yeah, we weren't on the brink. We fell off the cliff.
Oh, you did?
We fell off. We were holding on by
I said that, yeah, it was
it was bad.
Yeah, we was bad.
It was really bad.
We got to a point where I was so frustrated, but that she is not the person that I imagined. Like she wasn't me. She wasn't my version. She wasn't the female version of me.
him.
She didn't process things like I did. I don't understand why this, that, and I don't understand why she feels that way. I was so frustrated because I was trying to make her the female version of me. And I didn't really know it at the time. But what I figured out is that this is not, she's not happy. And we got to a point where, you know what, this is not working. It's not, and you know what? We love the Lord, but I wasn't in a relationship with that I am now with God. I wasn't at the place. I wasn't the man of my house. I was a man. I was a male in my house.
Ooh, that's a big thing for me to say.
But I wasn't the man of my house. I wasn't the head of my house.
Now let me interject. He paid the bills. He was home on time. He didn't cheat. There were none of these other extenuating circumstances. But as far as supporting me as a wife and our children as dad, in some instances he was absent because of needing to become in connection with his full self.
I shut down, and when I get frustrated, my go-to was to shut down. I mean, just first of all, I would just shut down and be like, okay, I'm just gonna take a break. I don't want to argue. I don't want to fuss. I don't want to fight. And then it turned into
I became invisible.
I
felt
don't
invisible.
even want to interact with her.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I could go a whole day without speaking to her, and I made it okay.
Yeah.
And that's when it was bad. So we talked about separating.
Yeah.
And we was like, you know what? This ain't working. We're going to separate. And I tell this story all the time because it's real. It's real when you talking about separating personal belongings. You know, who's going to get the TV? You know, who's going to get the microwave? You know, we're going to pick the kids up? You know, it got that serious. And
where the kids gonna live?
Yes, where we gonna live and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we had such. I have a really good friend. We have really good friends of ours that are married also. They got married like just before us,
Mm-hmm.
and they knew that we was having some issues, but they never really talked to us. Them talked to us about it. They done something. They did something really great. They came down and just watched the movie. It was a movie I think it was called Fireproof.
Fireproof.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
watch Fireproof. They
Mm.
watched Fireproof with us, and we was like, "Oh my goodness!" Now we got to play this front. I'm saying to myself, we got to play this front like we're, and we know we ain't got to fake it in front of them,
No, because
but we didn't want
they
to
kind
make
of knew
them.
something was
We
going
didn't want to
on.
make
They
them
knew.
feel like why y'all here.
Right.
So we was like, okay, we're gonna be the best cordial behavior, and we watched the
Mhm.
movie, and
We sat on the same couch.
yeah, same couch, and so that movie right there just kind of started something about what I don't know if you ever seen Fireproof. If you haven't, watch the movie. Watch the movie, and because it started a feeling like, okay, I don't know, we didn't come back together at that point. But what my
Mm-mm.
friend did, he invited me to go on an encounter. He invited me to, and he had invited me to go on this encounter maybe a couple months before, and I was like, nah, I can't go because it costs some money.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he said he gonna pay for it.
Mm.
I ain't had no excuse, so I
Yeah.
said, okay, cool, I go. I go on the encounter. Now, at the point for the movie time we watched the movie Fireproof, it's like, and we started talking about separating things. We didn't hate each other. We just didn't
No,
like
I
how we
was
were
cool at
living
that point. I
together.
was like, "Oh, right,
Yeah,
it's time to
and so
get
it
this
was like,
over with."
man, this is getting serious. So
Mm-hmm.
we started being kind of more cordial, but we still wasn't quite. We was missing each other. I went to this encounter,
Mm-hmm.
and I encountered God on such a level that I've never ever experienced him before. And the encounter, it was just men. It was just all men.
And
We
it was
were
like a
just,
lock-in. You were
yeah, we're
locked
locked
away for
in. We
what?
just 3
48
days couldn't
hours, 72
call.
hours,
They didn't take our phone, but
no
they expressed
TV.
so don't call, don't talk. It was just us, ministers and worship,
Mm.
talking and teaching.
Mm.
Us ministers, worship, talking, teaching. That's it. We just did that for 2.5 days almost. Um, and on that, it broke for me. It broke. I'm like, my marriage is falling apart. My marriage I'm about to lose. My marriage, my kids. And I'm not saying that I was never going to see them again. I'm just saying that it's about to be
It's gonna
over.
be
And on
fractured.
that
Yeah.
encounter, I asked God. I said, look, I need you to show me how to become a better husband. I
Mm-hmm.
need you to show me how to stop being so angry and hurt and frustrated because I can't get my way, crying like a baby, just getting mad at her and being emotional, abusive to her because I'm frustrated. I'm hurt. So we say hurt people. I was doing that. I was hurting her because I was hurt. And I said, God, I'm tired of it. I need you to show me how to become this husband that you talk about in Ephesians 5. How to
Mm-hmm.
become that husband. And I know you can do it. It's like that woman that tugged on Jesus's
Yes.
garment. She like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what y'all say. I know he got it. He is healing in him. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how I felt about God. I said, God, I know you can do it. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but I know you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Show me. I need you
Mm-hmm.
to show me. And I'm just crying and just, man, stuff coming all up my nose, eyes. It was not a pretty sight. But I say all that to say, I grabbed a hold of God and I
Mm.
hugged me. And I don't care what nobody said. Felt the embrace of God on me, and He said, "You know what? I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Ask, seek, knock." I did that literally. I just said, "Show me." He grabbed me. He said, "I got you."
Mm.
When I felt this embrace, that's when I knew
Mm-hmm.
this is the love I'm supposed to give my wife.
Oh, come
This
on.
is the love. I've been making it up all this time. I've been trying to do it my way all this time. But this is the love that I'm supposed to give my wife. I'm feeling it right now. And every time I tell this story, this has been since 2012.
12. Mm-hmm.
Every time I tell
I
this
think it was
story,
April 2012. Mm-hmm.
I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is what my wife desires from me. Never, God didn't like, okay, no, husband, wives, love your husband. No, he was like, that's that's the nature. Y'all built in. Us, we're supposed to love you from this place.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I called my wife up on the phone. I said, babe,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready.
Ooh,
ready to be the man of my house. I'm ready to
all
be
right.
the head of my house. I am ready.
Mhm.
I'm trying to tell, and she told me she could tell you her part, but I'm just saying. She said she felt me smiling with a phone.
I could feel his joy, and there was a lifting. My husband, most people who know him, I mean, um, a lot of people call him a teddy bear. He's a big guy, about 6'4", babe. You about 6'4". I'm about 5'3". Um, and he's a big guy, big personality, big voice, but he's like a teddy bear, you know. And most of the time he was that way, but his own upbringing, things that happened when he was a child, his the things that pressed on him, that not knowing, not having a father to be present and show him how to be a man, and here he is trying to fake it till he makes it, so you know, so to speak. And it's like, well, it's not working because he was trying to do it in his own strength. And when he figured that out, you know, because of those things, he would become angry and explosive, you know. And that war and tore on our marriage for a long time. And you know, I had to get to a point where I was like, okay, either you've tried everything you know how to try to do. I did all the flips, the back flips, the praying, the talking, speaking in tongues, reading the Bible to him, all the things I was doing wrong because I can't control him. I had to learn, okay. And I said this to him. I said, you can do anything you want to do, but you cannot do it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to make up my mind that I was going to set a standard for what I desire, because what he talked about in Ephesians chapter 5, you know, if we put it in a practical way, a woman, he's saying, love your wife as Christ loved the church and
Mm-hmm.
gave himself for it.
Mm-hmm.
Literally gave his entire life for it. That's the model he's supposed to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens with a woman who is able to receive that love? Some women are broken and won't receive it, but what naturally happens with most women is that we become a flower. We open up. We're going to give you the love. We're going to give you and love. There is no love without respect, and that's what the man wants.
Mm-hmm.
The respect. You give the love, he gives the love, we give the respect,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes us whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And so
yeah.
I mean, that put us on a path
Mhm.
to you know, reconcile,
Mhm.
to, you know, work on our marriage. And, you know, and this is not, you know, it was really spiritual.
Mhm.
But we also did the practical things. You know, we also went to counseling.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
one thing to admit, a lot of people were like, "Well, I don't really need." You know,
Yes, you
no,
do.
we just do. I went to two. I went to two counselors. I
You need
went to
help.
one, and I didn't like that one, and that's why I went back for another one. You
Mhm.
know, and we went together,
Mhm.
and because we wanted to work on our marriage. And now the first one we went to, we actually wanted to work on how can we be separated and not
Yeah.
hate each other
And
every time we
not
see each other.
make our
That
Wow.
was real.
suffer.
That
Yeah.
was real.
Wow.
That's when it got real. We went to counseling to learn how to be separated.
Wow.
That's initially when we first went into it. But as we got to talking the more and more, we realized, you know what, we really want to be together. We really love each other
Mhm.
so much, but we just don't know how.
Ooh.
And
Wow.
Past
What
our
an
well,
amazing
past
story.
our hurt.
mhm.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
we
Thank you
we
guys.
kept doing this. And
Thank you
then
so
now
much.
we are at a point now that we just kept going forward. We made up our mind. That's why I started this whole thing with covenant, you know, commitment and connection and communication and
Yeah.
calibration. I started this whole thing because, first of all, I had to recognize it was a covenant I made. I pledged my life to her. You know, I pledged my. It was. This is not just I pledged my life to her until I don't like her no more. No, I pledged my life. And then I made a commitment to
Mhm.
God
Mm-hmm.
that I will honor and I will take care of this good thing that I found.
Mhm.
And
Ooh.
I have not woken up a morning and was like, you know what? I think this is too bigger than me because I know it's first of all I know it's bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not like I woke up this morning and said I want to give up. No, I have to be encouraged. I have to go to my head, you know. I have to go to my God and be like, I know this is bigger than me. I need you to still keep me and still
Yeah.
show me how to become, still stay this husband, still stay this
Oh.
father, still stay, you know, this friend, this confidant to my wife. You
Mhm.
cannot do it's way bigger than you. You cannot do it alone. You
Right.
cannot.
Amen. Thank you so much for sharing. Listen, guys, we're coming up to the last couple minutes here, last 10 minutes. If you have any questions for Vincent and Valerie, please put it in the chat and I will read it out loud for them. Thank you again so much for sharing. Before we leave, I just wanted to kind of touch briefly about the African American community in specific. If you look at the numbers, oftentimes African American women aren't, the marriage rates for them are lower than other races. Like, do you guys see that there are issues in terms of the African American community and them not, being married as much as other races? And what are your guys' opinion on that? Again, I am trying to help people get in relationships and sustain their relationships. And right now,
Mhm.
just in this generation, it just seems like a big challenge, but even more so in the African American community. So I just wanted to know if you guys have, based on your experience or anything that you've researched, what are your kind of views on the topic?
Well, we know that African American community we have been um, plagued by
Mhm.
systemic racism. We
Mhm.
have been, the rates lower in our community. I think for every 1,000 females, they say like 29, will be in a relationship. Yeah, that's
Mm.
next to 55 and whites and Asians.
Mhm.
That's almost less than half. And then the males are incarcerated at a higher percentage. Any black or brown are incarcerated at a higher percentage than
Mhm.
our than any other, not just white, but any other, um,
Every other
every
race and
other, yeah.
ethnicity.
And
Mhm.
so with that, we have to understand that first of all, you are you are not a mistake. Brown people, black people. We are not a mistake. We are not. Sometimes we buy into the white man is trying to get us. We put all this blame on so many other people, but we have to do what we're doing now. You have to stand up and say, hey, look, I'm not going to be a statistic. I'm going to break generational curses. We have to understand that okay, we do have this history, but it doesn't have to be our future. It doesn't have to
Right.
be even our present now.
Mhm.
Amen.
Because of the fact of the incarceration rate of African Americans, we have to understand that why are we still allowed the reason why a lot of us get trapped up, first of all, in four areas that we don't go into the knowledge of what it takes to have a successful marriage. Like, what is marriage? We don't go into the fact that you have to really buy into the fact that we're ignorant about. I'm not saying we're ignorant like we're
Like truly
little,
not having
but
knowledge of it.
we just don't know. And once you
Mhm.
accept the fact that you don't know, then you will be hungry. You have to, first of all, you have to have the absence of truth. You have to realize that I don't know
Mhm.
how to become a better father, become a better husband. You think you know,
I don't know what it looks
but you
like.
don't really know.
Mhm.
And then from that, you have to understand. Now I need to apply the truth. I need to find out what is truth.
Mhm.
You find out what is truth, and then you apply it. That's when you get the knowledge. And knowledge is applied truth. Then you
Mhm.
have to get the understanding of what this truth is. You have to get an
Mhm.
understanding. The understanding is, we're assembling. We're trying to figure out, okay, how does this work? How can I make this better? And then we have to get the wisdom of what truth is. Truth is the application of truth.
Mhm.
I think the root of it, and I know y'all be like, man, this dude a minister or something like that. I'm just
He
telling
is.
you, I am a minister, but I'm just telling you, a lot of it stems from the fact that we knocked this Bible down, saying this is a white man's religion, and we've done
Mhm.
that for so long that
Mhm.
the enemy is like, yeah, you're right. They kept y'all slaves. How dare y'all read our Bible and talk about slaves? Everywhere go, and even in the New Testament, you talk about slaves, and you denounce the Bible as a white man's religion. But I'm just trying. There's so much practical truth in there
Mhm.
that once you get past the fact, and slaves, and even the slaves in the Bible, read, please. We're not talking about slaves, how they did when they brought us
Talk about
over.
bond
No,
servants. Yeah.
they're bond servants, people that volunteer. Say, look, I owe you money. I'm just going to work for you.
Mhm.
I'm going to work for you with service, and then some translation they call it slaves. The only other translation were slaves were the people of Egypt that were taken captive, and also people that were, um, and even then they were called captives, and some translations called the slaves. But we think that because we hear the word slaves in the Bible, that this Bible ain't for
that
us,
it
ain't for black
supports
people.
the enslavement of African
And that's, I
Americans.
believe that's the
Professor.
whole cloud. That's the whole cloud that we have, and that's why we keep tripping up, because we don't we got the religion from our mother, got the religion from our
Grandma,
grandmother,
Big
but
Mama.
we actually never actually read this Bible for ourselves.
Mm.
I mean, really read the Bible for yourselves. Get past the hard parts and read the Bible. It's gonna be some stuff you're gonna be like, well, I don't understand the people, Moses and the snake and the serpent and all that stuff. No, get past that. And
Right.
I guarantee you, once you get to the end, first time, it's gonna make a little more sense. Then you read through it again, and then you be like, well, Vince, you hear me talk, and you're like, well, wow, man, that took years of learning. And look, I just
One day at a
actually
time.
believe the Bible. I actually just read it, and I just say,
Yeah.
look, I'm just going to apply this in my life. This is not the white man's religion, and people keep using that as a crutch to why they can't get better. And I believe it affects the black community so much so, because I've heard this, just talking, kicking it in the barbershop when I used to get my haircut. I don't get my haircut anymore, but just kicking it. It's like we come back to the fact where, man, that's not for us.
Well, I want to make
So
this.
let me go ahead. I want to ask a question real quick. When you're done, Valerie, I'm going to ask a question, and then go ahead.
Okay. I just want to make the point that, it is valid that slave owners did use portions of the Bible to abuse and mistreat and enslave us. However, it was their error, not God's error. Stop punishing God for what someone else did with his word and how they used it. Because when you apply the word, it works. It just does.
Yes. Love it. So I love what you guys said. First, do the research. If for some reason you haven't seen that in your home, you're not sure how to be a husband, how to be a wife, go get the education and apply that. Spoke about the word of God, looking at that as an instrument of how to be in a successful marriage, how to treat each other, how to love each other. What do you think about, because sometimes you hear that, oh, Black women are really combative, like in a relationship, they're always talking down to a guy, like as opposed to other races, they may not be as combative. What do you guys think about that? Do you think Black couples are like at odds a lot of times, and there's a lack of respect there because of the way that they communicate?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because it was a point that I wanted to make about the last question. And it's just that we have been systematically divided for years. Pull the man out of the household, make the woman responsible. And then we have drank the Kool-Aid, women have, in regard to, I'm a boss. I don't need nobody. I can take care of my kids. I don't need a man. We pump each other up. And you're saying you don't need a man, but your children need a father.
Come on.
So if you didn't want the man to be a father, then you should not have had children with him. Because now when you want to go off and find something else to do, you can justify, well, I am woman, hear me roar. However, your kids are suffering, which brings me back to Glad I Left, his question. When we are brought up in broken households, when we are brought up in households where it's just women are the matriarch and stand in the role of patriarch. They cannot be the patriarch of the family, because it takes a man to be a father. It takes a man to be a dad, for him to be that example. We can show them, point them in the direction, but a woman can never teach a child, a boy, how to be a man, and a woman can never father a daughter. And so we need to stop allowing society to tell us how to love one another. It goes all the way back to when they started with welfare system. The woman could be in the house, she could receive support, but if she had a man in the house, her support would be cut off. Then you start talking about incarceration. The man can go to jail. So if the man goes to jail, then once we start to become a little bit better, well, I don't want my daughter talking to some guy who's been in jail. We have all these stereotypes and all these isms and schisms within our own race and community. And women need to learn how to embrace their femininity as well as their strength. It's okay to be strong. I don't want no boo-boo the fool. I don't want no scrub, right? That's fine. But also learn how to have grace.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to have grace and embrace one another with love. And Black men need to stop denying and take accountability for the things that they need in the areas that they need to step up in. And
Mhm.
some women would back up and stop being so harsh.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Ooh, it's
Yeah.
a lot.
it is.
And like you guys said, a lot of it is
Nothing to add
systemic.
to that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you guys said, a lot of it is systemic, and it's that awareness, like us having these conversations. And, now you're aware to watch out for that type of stuff and get the knowledge that you need in order to overcome these challenges. I want to
Mhm.
thank you both so much again for being on the show today. It was a real blessing.
Thank you.
Love what you guys are doing. Keep the ministry going. Again, for those who weren't on from the beginning, please let them know where they can find you guys if they're trying to get in touch with you.
Yes, once again, it's Couples Pursuit, COUPLES Pursuit, PURSUIT.com. And I can put it, I guess you can put it in the chat, Nikki. Or I can put it in the chat. But yeah, just reach out to us. Like I said, our hangout, our spot, is Facebook. We hang out there mostly, every day you will see us on there, just dropping some nuggets, some words of wisdom, and just trying to do what we can to help people have a happy and healthier marriage. I think that's the thing that I want to leave viewers with, is that you deserve the right to be happy. That's not to say their spouse is supposed to make you happy.
No.
But you do deserve the right to be in a happy, healthy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And once you recognize that fact, that you deserve that, then why not go for it? Why not utilize every resource that you can to shoot for the stars? Maybe you land on the moon. You deserve that. Your family deserves that. Your whole lineage, everybody that is connected with you will benefit if your home is happy and healthy.
And it's your responsibility. It's not his responsibility to make me happy, nor is it mine to make him happy. But in order for us to have a happy marriage, we don't believe in happy wife, happy life. It's happy spouse, happy house.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so,
it. Woo!
right? Because it's selfish to go the other way around. I'm not a princess and he's not the frog, that's supposed to, or the beast that's supposed to do everything. For me, we have to come together and do it as one. But he and I have learned over time that no, we're not supposed to make one another happy, but we are supposed to cultivate peace and joy in our household. And that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Having peace and joy in our house. We have to take responsibility for our part in our own happiness, not selfishness.
Right.
But
oh, love it. Nice final words for us. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, let someone know about the show, and go ahead and support them on couplespursuit.com. Follow them on Facebook. You guys are on Instagram too, right?
Yeah.
Check them out. You got a YouTube channel too, so check them out. Thank you again so much, everyone, for watching My Comfy Couch, and we'll see you next time. Toodles.
Here.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.